So historically, if I wanted to know if a given target node was contained within or was equal to another node, I would do some explicit traversal of the DOM tree. So what I would typically do is start comparing one node to the other, and of course if they're the same, then I know it's local to one node is local to the other. And then if they weren't, I would end up walking up the parent node chain for each step of the comparison. And I would continue to do that while I had a resultant node. So this could return null, I believe, eventually. And of course, if I never found two nodes that were the same, I would return false. So not terribly complicated, but certainly not trivial either. There is a certain amount of logic here and understanding of the DOM. And as it turns out, just the other day, I discovered that there is actually a method on the DOM node API that does all of this exactly for you, and it's called .contains. So let's jump over into another file here and I'll show you what it does. So I have a container here, and you can see that some of the elements here are outside of that container and some of the elements are inside that container. And what I'm going to be doing is using some event delegation to capture the click event at the document level and then check to see if the target of said click event is local to the particular container. So the container is that this one right here. And if we look at what is local node is doing, let's step over this for a second. Here's the node, the container node, and we're calling the native .contains method on it and passing in the target. So this is all of the logic that I had here, essentially is now just this one call to the native contains method. Now, in IE11, this contains method only works if the target is an element node. And there are ways to end up selecting things like a text node, which is why I have this step for IE, which essentially is to walk up the parent node of the target until we make sure that we have an element node. So if this is a text node coming in, it'll essentially walk up to get its element node before calling the contains. So this doesn't necessarily apply to this demo, because in this demo I can only select element nodes with the click, but I'm leaving it here as a mental note, as this overall post is just a mental note to myself as well. So let's jump into the browser and we can see what happens. So if I click outside, we can see here that the container is the red box, the target here is the HTML page, and it is not local. So the HTML page is not contained within the red box, of course. If I click something like here, again, our container is the red box. This time I'm selecting the emphasis node, and of course this is not local to the red box. If I click something in here, right, our container is the red box again, our target is the bold element, and this time it is local to the container. And of course if I click somewhere over here where it's the container and the target node is the container, that is also local, because contains does a direct equals or a direct comparison as opposed to just a contained or a descending comparison. So anyway, Node.contains, awesome. I'm shocked that I didn't know about this earlier. Looking it up, it did seem like early versions of this were not well supported or weren't supported properly, but now certainly every browser works with this API, and this is much easier than manually walking up the parent node chain on the DOM tree. So note to self, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget.